I've been reading my Bible. So, I want to tell you some things about the Bible. You ready? First of all, we need to get ourselves ready by doing a few things. I'll do it. I'll show you how you do it with me. Let's make little O's with our hands. My fingers are not very straight, so I can't make real good O's, but pretend this is an O and you make one too. Did you do it? Okay. And now let's make T's. Jerk, T. So O-T, O-T. Got it? Yeah, good. Okay. Now with your other hand, we're going to make an up, down, up. Do it again. Up, down, up. Faster. Up, down, up. That's an N. And another T. So we have in the Bible O-T and N-T. This one, O-T, is for Old Testament. This one, N-T, is for New Testament. The Bible has a long story that goes all the way from the beginning to the end of the Bible, but it's divided into two halves. The first half is, got it? Old Testament. Yeah, you got it, good. Okay. The first half tells about things that happened before Jesus was living on earth as a man. So, yeah, you got that one too, good. The New Testament was about when Jesus was living on earth and after he had lived on earth. But there's something real special about that, and that is that sometimes there are hints. Actually, there's a lot of hints about what's going to take place in the New T. So today, I want to tell you about two stories that I took one out of, and they talk about each other. Okay. So first of all, the first one, of course, starts at the OT. It starts at the beginning. So in the OT, there were a group of people. Well, it was a big group. No, I mean really big, like more than 1 million people. And they were walking. They were called the Israelites. They were God's special chosen people. And he chose a leader. His name was Moses. And Moses was leading all of these people in the wilderness. You know, wilderness, it's a word that starts with the word wild. You could say wilderness, but you could say wild. Wilderness, but it's all kind of the same. That means there were no cities where they were walking. There were no roads. There was the ground, and there were some trees, and there was grass, and there were wild animals. Oh, you hear that? Wild animals in the wild wilderness. That's what they were walking through. So all these people, over 1 million, were following Moses and walking through the wilderness, and they walked for a long time. No, I mean a really long time. 40 years. Let's practice a little bit of our walking. You get your walking feet ready to go, and we're going to do it. Ready? Walk, 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 walk. There's different ways of walking. But they walked all the different ways that they could think of, and they kept on walking and walking and walking. They couldn't walk every minute, of course. Sometimes they had to stop and rest and sleep and eat. So when they stopped, they camped. They set up some tents and they cooked their food, and they were once they were in their camp, somebody got bit by a snake. It was a poisonous snake. And the person who got bit died. Somebody else got bit. It was poisonous, they died. Ow, 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 ow. Oh dear, oh dear. There were people getting bit all over the place and they were dying. Now, the rest of the 1 million people were seeing this happen, and they said, Moses, help. Snake, poison, bit, died. Snake, poison, bit, died. Moses, help. And Moses said, Oh. God, the people are getting bit by poisonous snakes and they're dying. What should we do? Okay, so God told Moses, this is what you do. You take a big, I don't know what shape it was in, but it was bronze. You know what bronze is? It's like heavy. Not heavier than wood, harder. It's a metal. So he said, you take some bronze and you make a big snake out of it. Oh, okay. Now, I've never made a snake out of bronze. I've never even touched bronze, but I know that it's a metal. But I have made a snake before. I've made it out of Play-Doh. Get your invisible Play-Doh and I'll show you how I do it. You get a big piece of it. Clump it together like that. And then somebody tells you, make a snake. Do you know how to do it? I do. Okay, I'm gonna squish it like that and I'm gonna start to roll it. Then it gets bigger. Get your snake bigger. Because the more you push on it and roll it, the longer it gets, right? Ooh, it's good. It gets pretty big. So, Moses, it doesn't say in the Bible how Moses made the snake. But I'm thinking that he had to get it soft like our Play-Doh snakes so that he could make it. So maybe he heated it up a little because sometimes metal gets soft, starts to melt. So I'm thinking maybe he heated it up and got it soft and then he made it big and then I bet that he kind of curved it, like push it here and push it out. You know, snakes go wiggling along. So he made that and God said, now get a real big pole and put the snake on one end of the pole. Okay. So he got a big pole and he put the snake on one end of the pole and God said, set the pole up so the snake is up on the top and set it somewhere where all of the people can look at that snake on the top of the pole. And if somebody gets bit, all they need to do is stop everything that they're doing and immediately, where's the pole? Look at the pole. Look at the snake on the pole and they won't die. So, that was some good news. They just had to believe what God said. And if they believed what God said, then, bite. Look at the snake. The snake bit a little, hurt a little bit, but I feel fine. I'm fine. That was an interesting adventure that they had. All right, now it's a hint about the New Testament. And in there were still Israelites, and there were people who were Israelites, not the same ones, but some later, when Jesus was living on the earth. And there was a group of those Israelites, and they were leading all of the Israelites in teaching them how to live. And so the reason they could do that is because these teachers had studied and read and talked about and discussed the whole thing. So when Jesus was living on earth, these teachers listened to him sometimes and he was telling some new things that God wanted the people to know. It was time for them to know the new things. These leaders, the teachers from the teachers, didn't want Jesus to do that. They wanted to be the ones to do it. But there was one of them. His name was Nicodemus. Nicodemus listened to Jesus, and though he knew everything about and he taught the people all about it, he thought, Jesus is saying some interesting things here, and I want to find out about it. Oh, but he didn't want the rest of the teachers to go with him. He didn't even want them to know he was going. So he went at night, and he was real quiet. And he went to where Jesus was staying, probably in a house with some friends, and he knocked on the door. Somebody opened the door, yeah? And he said, could I talk to Jesus? Sure. Jesus, somebody's here, wants to talk to you. Nicodemus said, could he come outside? I just want to be just Jesus and me. I just want us, the two of us. Okay. Jesus, he wants you to go outside with him. So Jesus came out And Nicodemus said to Jesus, "Teacher," because he knew that Jesus was a teacher, "we know that you have come from God because we hear you teaching a lot of things about God, and because you do miracles." Miracles? Jesus did do miracles. Miracles, that means doing something that no people are able to do. Jesus walked on the water. People saw him walking on the water. We can't, we sink. That's what miracles are, doing something that people cannot do. So Nicodemus said, "We know this about you." And Jesus said back to him, "Nicodemus, I tell you the truth. Unless you are born again, you cannot see or enter the kingdom of God." And Nicodemus was like, "Huh? Oh, that was confusing for a couple of reasons. One reason was Nicodemus thought because he had memorized everything and was following the rules, he thought that's how he got into the kingdom of God. That's how he got to go to heaven. But the other thing that he was confused about just didn't make any sense. Nicodemus said to himself, I think, I'm just saying this, I don't know, how can I be born again? I am old and I am big, and I know that babies are young and they're little." So he said, "Jesus, how can this happen?" And Jesus said, "Oh, do you remember Nicodemus about in there? When the snake was lifted up on the pole and the people had to know what Jesus said about that snake lifted up on the pole, and they had to believe God and they had to obey him. I will be also lifted up on a pole, and people will need to hear what God says about me up on that pole, but his pole would have a cross. And they will need to believe. And if they believe, they won't die. They will enter the kingdom of God." Nicodemus, when a baby is born, the baby gets its life from the parents, the mom and the dad. But that life doesn't last forever. When someone is born from God, from believing God, that life lasts forever. So Nicodemus, all you need to do is watch and see what I'm going to accomplish up on that pole. And you need to listen to God about it, and you need to believe me. So these are good things. See how it went back and forth? They connected together. So when you read the whole Bible through, there's lots of things that you read and you'll think, "Oh, that's interesting. Wonder what that's going to be about." And when you get to the New Testament, when Jesus is here, you can remember that. Like, I remember what he's talking about. It's important to read all of the Bible, and it's important to know that it's all about what Jesus is going to do, what he does for us. So there's a verse I'd like to read to you. It's in, remember there's different names of the parts of the Bible. This is in the part that's called John. And in John, it's in chapter 14, and it's verse number 6. And it's very good. So listen to this. It says, Jesus told him, "I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." So Jesus is telling us, he had it written down for us so that we would know the way that we can get into the kingdom of God, the way that we will live forever in heaven. It's by knowing Jesus. It's by believing God and what he says about him. Isn't that good?